Hello, everyone. Today we'll finish the chapter of candlelighting with different scenarios. Some of them were already discussed in brief. For example, lighting electric lights instead of Shabbos candles. And most of these are related to when we eat out of our home, or we're sleeping out of our home, or we don't have anywhere safe to light, like the hotel that we talked about. And so the rabbi starts with something that is so prevalent in the settlements, where one family invites another not to sleep because they live in the same yeshuv, in the same settlement, but they all eat Friday night dinner together, and then each family goes home to their own home. And so the question is again where to light. So when a family hosts another family for Shabbat, some maintain that only the hostess should light candles with a bracha, whereas the guest should light without the bracha. The blessing, there's always a concern, especially in the Sephardi communities, of saying a bracha levatala, saying Hashem's name in a blessing for no reason when there's already somebody that said it or is saying it. And since it is not clear whether there is a need for this other woman, the guest, to light. This is the opinion of Shulchan Aruch and the custom of some Sephardi communities. However, the opinion of the Ramah, the Ashkenazi Mapa on the Shulchan Aruch, and most poskim is that the guest may indeed recite a blessing when she lights her candles, because each extra candle contributes additional light, and we already said that it's about the Kavod Shabbat and Oneg Shabbat, and so that's the justification and rationalization for that. This is the custom of Ashkenazim and some Sephardim, such as those from Morocco. In practice nowadays, this issue need not arise because every home has several rooms and it is common to give guests their own room. So this is when a family is coming from outside of your town or settlement. Everyone agrees that if a guest lights there, she may recite the blessing. Similarly, when the kitchen and dining room are separate rooms, this is just a suggestion. The guest may light with a bracha in the kitchen while the hostess lights in the dining room. To be sure, the primary place to light candles is where the meals will be eaten, but there is a mitzvah to have some light in other rooms as well. Therefore, when two families spend Shabbat together, now we're talking about the whole Shabbat, it is recommended that the hostess light in the principal place, namely at or near the table, and the guests light in additional places like the kitchen or their bedroom. Similarly, if the hosts arrange a separate apartment for their guests, it is best for the guest to light candles with a bracha in the guest apartment. In order to be able to enjoy the light of these candles, she should make sure to light candles that will last until they return from their Shabbat meal. If she lights regular candles, she should make sure to stay near them until it begins to get dark. Alternatively, a family member can go look at the candles before the meal, for if nobody looks at the candles on Shabbat itself, they do not fulfill their purpose of honoring Shabbat, and consequently her lighting and her bracha would be in vain. In a hotel where everyone dines together, it is best that one woman light with a blessing in the dining room, while the rest of the women light in their bedrooms. However, Rabbi Melamed knows very well that most hotels forbid lighting candles in their bedrooms because it is a fire hazard, and so they set up a table in the hotel dining room with candles for all the women to light. And like we said before, there should still be an electrical light in the bedroom because we don't want to trip and fall, especially in a hotel room where we're not as familiar as in our own house. Following the custom of Ashkenazim and some Sephardim, all the women may light with a bracha. However, according to the custom of many Sephardic Jews, only the first woman to light should do so with her bracha, and the rest should light without. But the best solution is for all the women to gather together and to say it together in front of this table. There's another possible solution. One woman may light in the dining room while the rest fulfill the mitzvah with a bracha by lighting an incandescent bulb in their bedroom. As we learned in the previous section, the vast majority of poskim maintain that one may fulfill the mitzvah using an electric light. So I'll go to the next halacha because it talks about, again, somebody that is married or single spending Shabbat away from their home, which is very much connected to this. The mitzvah of lighting candles has two components. The first is connected to the place. There should be light in the place where one is eating and sleeping to make Shabbat enjoyable. Similarly, there must be light in other places that are in use Friday night. And the second component is connected to the person. There is a mitzvah for the person to light candles to honor Shabbat. Accordingly, even if there was a candle already lit on the table before Shabbat, it must be blown out and relit with a bracha in honor of Shabbat. Interesting enough, this week we'll be celebrating Chanukah, and there's a question among the poskim about young men and women who are in dormitory, if they are yotze by the blessing of their parents or not. And so that would also apply to the question of Shabbat, and there actually is a difference in opinion, not for now. If one is eating with their hosts but sleeping elsewhere, it is more complicated. If he is single and lights candles each week in his apartment because of his personal obligation, then he should light candles with a bracha where he is sleeping. But if he lives with his parents, or if he is married and his wife is lighting elsewhere, he is not obligated to light candles. And this is 100% like Hanukkah candles. If a man is away and it doesn't get home in time for candle lighting, they are yotze by what's called ner ishu beito, that the wife or the adult children are lighting in the house. And this is because, according to some opinions, the candles his mother or wife lights at home can fulfill his personal obligation. Even if that is not the case, it is possible that the lighting of his hostess exempts him in terms of the obligation to have light in the place where he is staying. Presumably, there are electric lights there. Nevertheless, it is a good idea for him to give his host a small amount of money in order to participate actively in their candle lighting, which again is a halacha in Hilchot Chanukah. So if you're going to your in-laws to light, you should still give the mother-in-law or father-in-law a little bit of money to be participating in that. If one is eating alone in a room on Friday night, even if he is married or single, who lives with his parents, there's a mitzvah for him to light candles with a bracha, because there should be light in the place where he is eating. Similarly, soldiers, whether married or single, should make sure that someone lights candles with a bracha in the dining room of the army base. They should also try to make sure that there will be some light in the rooms where they are sleeping. Custom dictates that women who are away for Shabbat have in mind not to fulfill their obligation with the lighting of their hostess, even though technically they may do so. Then they then light the candles themselves to fulfill the mitzvah. As we learned in the previous section, there is a debate about where they may light and recite the bracha, and we'll conclude this class with the idea of dormitories and those who are ill. We already talked about a woman staying in the hospital for more than 2 days after giving birth, and that's not considered ill, but actually, that's one of the things that the Lubavitcher Rebbe taught, which was that it's not supposed to be called a Bet Cholim, a hospital, a place of sick people, but rather a Bet Refuah, a place of healing, because especially a woman giving birth, it's not an illness, it's a joy, and it's yes, it's pain, but it's also a very big joy, and that's part of life. So, last but not least, about dormitory. Boys learning in yeshiva who live in a dormitory most of the time are considered independent as far as candle lighting is concerned, and have a personal obligation to light candles to honor Shabbat. This is the case even if they are still financially dependent on their parents, who take care of all their needs. Since the students eat together in a dining room, they have the status of one large family. That is, one of them must light candles in the dining room on everyone's behalf. Additionally, they should make sure that there is a little light in their dorm rooms when they go to sleep. It may be enough for this purpose to rely on hall lights or a street light. And even though they may light candles in each room with a bracha if they wish, it is unnecessary, since they fulfill their obligation with the lighting in the dining room. This is the widespread custom in yeshivot. And what's amazing for me is the fact that when the Shulchan Aruch was written, there was no such thing as a dormitory. Everybody was either in their house or staying with somebody else. Even in the Volozhin yeshiva in Lithuania and other yeshivot that were in Europe before the Holocaust, each student had a patron, a family that basically hosts them, and there was payment for the meals and for the stay there. They never had such a thing as a dormitory. This is a great invention, and so it's applicable now for hundreds and hundreds of thousands of boys and girls who have gone to dormitory, and so it will actually end with the women's dormitory. In contrast, in the women's dormitory, there are often many girls who want the opportunity to fulfill the mitzvah of lighting candles with a bracha. Accordingly, in addition to the candles that one of them lights in the dining room, they may each light in their own room with a bracha, but in many places there are concerns about fire and candles may not be lit in the rooms, in which case everyone fulfills her obligation with the candles lit by one of them in the dining room. It is good if the other girls also light electric bulbs in their rooms to fulfill the mitzvah. And so we'll stop here.